Welcome to the world of horror. Real experiences are broadcast from listeners. Turn off the lights and enjoy the story. Do not forget to like and subscribe to follow all the latest news. The narrator begins by stating that they had never lived in a haunted house themselves, but their mother had lived in one of those abandoned houses during her teenage years. There were strange stories circulating about inexplicable events in the neighboring houses on their street, and a family lived just a few houses away. One night, the neighbor's daughter went to bed, but complained of a severe headache. The next day, she was found dead, with the cause of death identified as a ruptured blood vessel. After the funeral, the family tried to move on from the tragedy, and the narrator's father asked their uncle to check on their pets in the house. The uncle went with the narrator's father to the house. The narrator's mother, aware of a grand piano in the house, wanted to play it. The narrator's father, who studied veterinary medicine, entered the house with them. The uncle and the narrator's father went downstairs to check on the pets, while the mother went to the ground floor to play the piano. While playing, she suddenly felt something touch her ankle. At first, she thought it was the cat and continued playing. Moments later, she felt the touch again, stronger this time. She decided to look under the piano, but found nothing. She resumed playing, but suddenly felt two hands gripping her legs tightly, pressing down on them forcefully. Terrified, she pushed herself forcefully towards the cellar door, calling for her husband and brother-in-law. When the homeowner returned, he asked her what was wrong. As she explained what happened, his face turned pale with horror and shock. He told her that he used to play with his daughter before her death on the piano, and she would crawl on the floor and grip his ankles tightly, pushing them up and down on the piano pedals. Thus, the narrator's mother uncovered the terrifying truth behind the strange occurrences in the abandoned house, leaving the family horrified and stunned by this mysterious revelation that defied easy explanation. I used to live in an old apartment with 3 other girls, all of us away from home for our studies. The apartment was located in a quiet area, but from the very first day, strange things began to happen that we couldn't explain. Even years later, 3 other girls, all of us away from home for our studies. The apartment was located in a quiet area, but from the very first day, strange things began to happen that we couldn't explain. Even years later, one night, I was sitting alone in the living room watching TV, when suddenly, I noticed a red glow to my left. A chill ran down my spine as I slowly turned to see what it was, but there was nothing. It had vanished completely, as if it was never there. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, but when I told my roommates about what happened, they confirmed that they had experienced similar occurrences, which only heightened my sense of fear. The most terrifying events began on a dark, stormy night. We were all sitting in the living room chatting when the landline phone rang. I looked at the caller ID, and to my shock, it was the number of one of our own. She paled and said in a trembling voice that she had left her phone in her room, and that no one else was there. When we answered the call, we heard strange, eerie music playing on the other end. Panic set in as the girl whose number was calling ran to her room to find her phone lying still and silent, with no device around that could be playing music. The room was unnaturally cold, and we all felt the presence of something unseen watching us. Things escalated from there, becoming even more frightening. On some nights, we would hear heavy footsteps moving around the apartment, even though we were all in our rooms. Sometimes, we would hear mysterious whispers coming from the dark corners. In the end, we couldn't take the constant fear that enveloped us at every moment. We decided to leave the apartment and move elsewhere, but those terrifying events continued to haunt us in our dreams, leaving behind a lingering sense of unease and fear that we can't shake off. The third story. The first time I saw a ghost was in our old house when I was 3 years old. I don't remember anything about it myself, but my mother told me the chilling details. One night, I went to the bathroom alone and suddenly started screaming. My mother rushed to me and asked why I was crying, and I told her I saw a man standing next to me, wearing a striped shirt, with a mustache, and holding a gun. My mother searched the entire house. The door was locked, and all the windows were shut. The bathroom window was too small for an adult to fit through. Days later, my mother was busy cleaning the kitchen sink and I was standing next to her. I leaned against a wall that hid a secret door leading to the basement, which I didn't know about but my mother did. I went down there and saw something strange. There was an old picture on the wall of the same man I had seen in the bathroom. Terrified, I ran to my mother, grabbed her hand, and led her to the picture, pointing at it and saying, "This is him, Mom. The man I saw in the bathroom." My mother looked at the picture in shock and said in a hushed voice, "That's a picture of your great-grandfather." As I grew older, my mother told me she would hear mysterious footsteps in the basement at night, and objects would move on their own. We often found things that had been relocated, without explanation, and sometimes heard faint whispers coming from the dark corners. One night, I woke up to the sound of slow footsteps approaching my room. Fear gripped my heart as I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. But the sound grew closer and closer. I opened my eyes to see the same man standing at my bedroom door, staring at me with a mysterious and frightening look. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to scream or move. In the morning, I found my mother standing at my bedroom door. When I told her what I saw, she looked deeply worried. We decided to talk to an elder in the village, who told us that the house was very old and that my great-grandfather had lived there many years ago. It seemed his spirit was still wandering the place, searching for something lost. Eventually, we decided to leave the house and move elsewhere, but those terrifying memories still haunt me in my dreams, leaving behind a lingering sense of unease and fear that I can't explain.